talking about this week?
I have no idea. What are we talking about this week?
Did you watch the Patriots?
It's not what we're talking about this week.
All right. Let's talk about learning the Portuguese language.
Okay. Because we did have a lot of questions on that.
We had a lot of questions about that, and I have not been successful.
He has not been successful. He knows some swear words, but that's about it.
Yeah, I know enough to get slapped. But you have to admit, the people who taught me that taught me well.
They did. They were very good at that.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason. And you've tried. It's not like you haven't tried. You've really tried hard.
No, I have tried hard. And as we said before, your parents weren't comfortable speaking English.
No, they were not.
So I think as soon as we were dating and realized that you were going to keep me around for a while.
Yeah. I was going to keep you around for a while, yeah.
I picked up some tapes.
You did? I
learn the
forgot
language.
about that.
Remember? Because we lived like an hour apart.
Yeah.
And I would listen to the tapes on the way over. And if you've never listened to the tapes, they're hysterical. Because almost every tape in every language starts off the same way. You know, they'll teach you how to count from 1 to 10, hello, goodbye. And then the next chapter is, can you tell me how to get to the train station? It's just this huge...
Yes, a little disconnect there.
A big disconnect.
Yeah.
Big disconnect. So over the years, I've tried that.
You have.
Off and on.
You really have.
And I would say once we started having the kids, there was less need for us to speak the language, for me to learn the language. So I had a lot of years where I didn't try.
Right. You're absolutely right. Because we were too involved in our own, whether, our 3 children. We had twins. We had our oldest, and then we had the twins. So we had a lot on our hands.
And they're all English speaking.
So. Yes. Well, what's funny in all of this is that, my parents only spoke Portuguese. I know they knew a few words here and there. They understood English. I mean, the whole thing. But when it came to them, around our children, when they were still with us, they would always be speaking Portuguese around them because they wanted them to speak Portuguese. And my 2 older sisters, my nieces and nephews, they were, how can I explain it? Their parent, both my sisters and my brother-in-law spoke Portuguese. So they heard it at home. And then they would go to either grandmother's houses and everyone was speaking Portuguese. So they had a constant, beautiful, language of being surrounded by it. So even now to this day, my nieces and nephews, they can understand Portuguese. And some of them feel very comfortable speaking it. Other ones kind of don't, but they understand it. Which, us having our children, me being the third in the line of daughters and getting married, and my parents being at that age, they were retiring when the twins were born. Yeah. At that point. And we thought, they were always around my parents. But at home, you didn't speak Portuguese. We were speaking English. So at home was constant English. And then going to my parents' house, there'd be Portuguese here and there. But, they were little. The twins were little when my mom started, everyone started becoming frail and sick and passing away. So they did not have that total immersion of Portuguese. No. In the same way that my nieces and nephews did. So they lucked out. They did not luck out on that. So that, and I have a lot of people going, well, how come your children don't speak Portuguese? You're Portuguese. Why didn't you teach them Portuguese? At that time, there was so much going on. The last thing on my head was to have them go to Portuguese school and learn Portuguese. So it is, I will take full responsibility on that one. But there was a lot. There was a lot going on that was not at the top of my list.
No, and why would we speak Portuguese at home?
Right, because you didn't.
Right.
But you tried. You tried so many times.
I tried. And so I'd get on a kick where I'd say, well, we're going to watch like an hour of RTP, or we've got a Portuguese radio station in town. I'd listen to that. And that would last about 12 minutes.
Yeah, then you'd go, I have no idea. I am lost.
But, all right, so RTP, when we got married, they had Oh, is
The
it
big.
Gigante Sabato?
That's right, the Giant Saturday.
Giant Saturday.
Yes, yes.
If you didn't need, if you if you've never seen the show, it's a crazy game show. You don't need to speak any language for that.
No, you don't.
You don't need to. And then.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And
That's
then,
good memory, Bob.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Except for the language, it's a
Yeah.
big memory. But then we would also sometimes, well, we weren't watching. We'd be over at your mom's house, and she'd be watching one of the soap operas,
Yes.
like one of the Brazilian soap.
Yes.
And again, you don't need a language. The acting's pretty broad.
Yeah.
You know
What they're saying. You can figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was around us. We didn't need to speak it. It wasn't.
Right.
It just wasn't necessary.
I know this question came up a lot after we've done our first two videos. This came up a lot, and that's why we're talking about it, because people wanted to know the language, how Bob felt about the Portuguese language.
So that's the background.
Yes.
So now we'll rush it forward.
Yes.
Like our first trip to the Azores 15 years ago ish, you did all the translating.
It was more than that.
And oof, you're right. It was probably 20 years ago.
Yeah, more. Yeah, it was more than that. It was more than that.
Yeah, doing mental math with the kids.
Yeah,
it was at least 20 years ago.
Yeah, more.
And you were doing all the translating.
Yeah.
And that, well, it's fine for the rest of us. It was a lot for you to translate, and I'd like to hear firsthand what's going on because.
Well, I mean, the other thing is so for the first time that we went as a family, this is what we're talking about. It was after my dad had passed away. It was I think the year after he passed away. And I wanted to go there I wanted to, I don't know, I missed my parents so much, especially my dad, and at that time, and I was like, I've got to go back, and it isn't just me going back, because a lot of times it would just be me going, and I wouldn't take Bob, and I wouldn't take the children. So this time around, it was like, no, everyone's going with me. Everyone is coming with me. We're all coming together, and we even had my sister Isabel with us at that time.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
and so we went there, and and it was literally the first time in a long time that there was total immersion into speaking Portuguese. And it was really beautiful. And our children were little. They weren't that big. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful. But it was also great that my cousin's children all spoke English. So it was something where if Bob and the children were having a hard time with something, they would just switch off and speak English, which was beautiful. So there was never an issue of not having that language or that barrier going to the Azores, because whether it was one or the other. But if I was around all my elderly aunts and uncles and my cousins who did not, that was a lot of work.
Right. So that's a good point. You could go to the islands and do very well, especially, particularly St. Michael, and not speak the language.
Yes.
I mean, I drive. I can read the signs. That's all pretty straightforward. Yeah. Google Maps, Apple Maps, that all works over there as well. So we could get by.
Yeah.
But now you get back to about 5 or 6 years ago, and I decided to go for citizenship.
That's right. That was another question
through
we
marriage.
had.
And so this is where it really amped up and get closer to current events. So depending on which consulate's webpage you're on, you see different requirements to get citizenship, even through marriage. And what we were seeing was a very strong requirement for I think they called it elementary level Portuguese, where you had to read and write at an elementary school level, and you had to go to a certified school/testing place in order to pass the test that would be acceptable for the
citizenship.
For the citizenship. So I started working with a new momentum, a new motivation to pass this test, and we've got a great Portuguese language school locally, and I attended that for a year or so.
Yeah, you did. It was almost 2 years.
Yeah, and that was fun, and they were great, and I was learning, and we were more immersed, and that was okay.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened, and life happened, and I couldn't continue with that. And then the requirements seem to have changed. So now for marriage, they don't require they don't require language. But I still want to learn it.
Right. For now, whereas before, to become a citizen of Portugal through marriage, you're right, it was all of these litany of things that needed to be done. But now it is just being married for 6 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That is the only thing now that you can. So if you're married to Portuguese, you can become citizen of Portugal, have an EU Portuguese passport. If you have been married to that Portuguese person who is also a citizen, because I am dual citizen. I have dual citizenship. And all our children have dual citizenship. So at this point now, we're looking at the paperwork, and it might take up to a couple of years.
A couple of years.
Yeah, the paperwork is just, it's so involved, and I know I've had a lot of other people going, I'm married to Portuguese, and I want to know how I can become a citizen through marriage. So I've tried as much as I can to help those, because every state in the United States has a different consulate. They run their offices a little different. So that is the place to actually start, is there. Not through Maria.
No.
At Maria's Portuguese. No, that is not, you don't start with me. You have to start with the Portuguese consulate in your state.
And I would say, back to the language, there are so many apps, but you want to make sure you're learning the type of Portuguese you want to learn. I want to learn European. I don't want to learn Brazilian. That won't. It'll help me, but not
Right.
as much.
It's not the same.
And then you've got islands with their own dialects and
That's different.
grammar.
It's different. See, okay, this
It's not different.
it is different because all right, I'm just going to say it. All right. Here in the United States, we all live in the United States. We're all in America, right? We're Americans, right? We're all in America. But New England has their own accent. You've got people in the Midwest, they have their own accent. You've got people down south, they have their own accent. And you go out west, they have their own accent. So it is the same umbrella. It doesn't make us any less Portuguese if we are different islands, have different slang words, different accents, whatever. It's still Portuguese. It's still Portuguese. But there might be a little bit of slang here and there. And some people do say that, especially the island of San Miguel, that there is a lot of words that are specifically to that island. But it is just slang that's there.
All right, so this is a very sensitive subject for you.
It is a sensitive subject. It is.
I didn't say it wasn't Portuguese. It doesn't help me learn.
Well,
There are
okay.
no apps that help me learn how to speak Portuguese on San Miguel for your
slang.
And we've been places where Maria's speaking English and people have identified that she's from San Miguel.
I know.
So
I know. And I'm like, how can you tell I'm from San Miguel? And they're like, your accent. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. Sure, I'll take it. I'm from San Miguel. I can't help it. No, so I'm proud to be who I am.
And that's fine.
And that's fine.
That is fine.
That's fine.
So, I am still learning. I came across a great program recently, but I just don't have the time for it. And that's the whole thing. You need to be immersed. Things that I would be looking for in a learning program would be, 15 to 30 minutes a day that you're going to spend studying, however you study, whether it's listening or practicing, once or twice a week, speaking to somebody who speaks Portuguese, who's not your spouse and going to get mad because I'm not using the San Miguel accent.
I am learning a whole new part of this man on these very open kind of interviews we're doing here with each other. Last time I hear that there was a meal that I created that you didn't like. First time I heard it on screen. And now I hear another first thing on screen of...
That meal was now muito bem.
It's bad. I want to hear that again. Yeah, sure.
No.
Oh, yeah. No. No, too late. Too late. You poo-pooed it already. No, too late. Oh, yeah.
We should probably stop right here.
I think we're going to stop right here. We're going to stop right here. And I know we have a whole bunch of suggestions from all of you on what to do next. But, you know, we're just having fun with this. And I really do appreciate it. Oh, and I have so many people asking us how we met, to do a whole thing on that. We met when we worked in retail many years ago. There's no big story.
No,
there really isn't any big story. But that is how we met. We met when we worked in retail. And it was love for first sight on him. It wasn't for me. But that's okay.
Oh, we're all learning things today. We are all learning
You knew
things
that one already.
today.
You knew that one already.
Yes, you remind me. You remind me so often.
I do not. He's fibbing. He's fibbing.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Till next time.